Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM, AM 630. WMAL.
8:07 on a Friday morning. The Bryans are here. Mary Catherine's on her honeymoon. Tori Clark back in the house again. Thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.
We're joined now by Congressman Michael Burgess, Republican from Texas, sat in on that hearing yesterday with Energy Secretary Steven Chu, the investigation into Solyndra and green energy. Congressman, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning, Brian. Tori, Brian.
How are you?
Okay, here I'm going to play a clip from Secretary Chu yesterday at the beginning of his testimony.
Over the course of Solyndra's loan guarantee, I did not make any decision based on political considerations.
After hearing his testimony yesterday, after questioning him, do you believe that to be true?
No, is the short answer. And here's the smartest man in Washington, D.C., and we're to believe that he didn't know that stuff was happening, and people would ask him questions of, did you know? And he said, well, I know now, implying that he didn't know then. But, this guy's a Nobel Prize winner in nuclear physics. He's brilliant, arguably smarter than anyone in the Congress.
Well, yeah, but there's book smarts and science smarts and math smarts, but was he politically smart? I got the sense from listening to some of the questioning yesterday that some Republicans on the committee, felt that he had sort of been rolled by political operatives, that he wasn't that savvy, and that they felt like he was being thrown under the bus. Do you think that's the case?
Well, he believes passionately in the concept that the green energy future is the right future for the country, and I think he allowed that to cloud some of his thinking, and he was very willing to push this agenda because it's one that he individually believes in. However, you do have to do things correctly, and his managerial skills, it's a big department that he manages, not the biggest agency, but it is big, and does he have the managerial skills to manage that? Does he have the political sea legs to deal with the Rahm Emanuel? And the answer is no, I don't think he did.
Do you think that Rahm Emanuel was pulling the buttons here, or pushing the buttons here, and pushing these things through for Solyndra especially to get it passed and to make sure the loans were there, and also at the end of the day to make sure that Solyndra's backers were going to be paid first before the taxpayers?
I don't know who was whose unseen hand was driving that. But certainly there are things that point back to the White House, so whether it was the Chief of Staff, whether it was Valerie Jarrett, whether it was Carol Browner, someone had a hand in that. I don't think he created this stuff himself.
Congressman, did anything surprise you yesterday? So much preparation goes into these hearings, appropriately. Did anything surprise you?
You know, what's surprising is, again, brilliant man, the holder of the nation's nuclear secrets, the civilian control of the nation's nuclear arsenal, and he's behaving like a venture capitalist. This is not right. And a venture capitalist risks things and could lose things if he makes the wrong bet. Secretary Chu, as I pointed out to him, earns $200,000 a year. At the end of the day, win or lose, he goes home with $200,000.
Mm-hmm. Right. Taxpayer
is on the hook
for $535 million.
So what's next? What happens next?
Well, I do think, and in spite of his tortured logic, I do think that he broke the law. The Energy Policy Act of 2005, which set up the loan guarantee program, never once thinking that the stimulus program was going to come along and inject all of this cash into it at this rate. But he violated the tenets of the Energy Policy Act. Now,
how so, in what way?
By subordinating the loan, the taxpayer debt to venture capitalists. Now, in the law, there really isn't a provision for a penalty, civil or criminal. So, it's sort of, I broke the law, but there's no penalty. But I think at the least, number one, he owes the American people an apology for behaving in a reckless way. And number two, he needs to go to his boss, the President of the United States, and say, I failed you in this endeavor, and I await your decision on my future. I would do that if it was me.
Can I just Congress passes a law and there's no penalty for violating the law?
Yeah, that's got to be fixed. And trust me, there are probably more than one office right now scrambling to put together legislative language to come to the floor and fix that.
Do we know if there are other laws out there where if you violate it, nothing happens to you?
Not that I'm aware of. Reading through the statute in preparation for this, or actually a couple of hearings ago, it was just unbelievable that there was no There was no penalty.
In the decision to say, hey, the taxpayers will be last and the backers of Solyndra will get paid before them, there were conversations with the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department said, hey, you can't do this.
Correct. They recommended you better consult with the Department of Justice because this looks fishy to us.
I don't understand Secretary Chu's explanation for why he decided that, no, that's not the way. It was, it was a tough decision.
And he kept telling us how complex it was.
Yes. And to rely on an email from a relatively junior lawyer in the department for the legal guidance, not even a legal memorandum. This was startling.
Well, but you might do that if you were getting pressure, if your arm was being twisted behind your back to approve these loans by someone like, say, I don't know, there's a guy who used to work at the White House who had that reputation, Rahm Emanuel.
Well, you said it, I didn't. You do wonder where the unseen hand was, because deep in my heart, I do not believe Secretary Chu was capable of that degree of misbehavior.
A lot of people always ask questions about, all right, we're giving these loans to these companies that may work, may not work, and some of them are owned or backed by billionaires, not millionaires, but billionaires. If they're owned by billionaires, why do they need loans?
Yeah.
Good question, and this used to be my argument back in the Bush administration, the great stem cell debate. Wait a minute, if this is such a great idea, you would have bio companies lining up at the gate to be the first to buy in and buy the patents. Why are you asking for federal funding for this? It raises a suspicion that this is something that's not ready for prime time.
Well, there's been one report out there that said that 80% of these loans that went to green energy companies went to companies that had some connection to a major Obama donor. In 80% of the cases. What does that tell you?
Well, you're right. To connect the dots, it appears to be a pay-to-play or crony capitalism. And let's be honest, regardless whether you're Republican or Democrat, progressive or conservative, crony capitalism is so last year. It just cannot happen anymore, not in this economic environment.
Congressman Burgess, thanks for coming on. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
it.
Good stuff. Thank you.